Hey friends, family and people on YouTube. Welcome to my first battle video of the ASL. Fun fact, this is week 5 actually, and you may wonder why didn't you start at week 1 and start at week 5? Well, I have a couple of reasons for it. The main reason is basically that I have been part of 2 forfeit games. It's nothing I could do about, but yeah, it felt weird to me to have week 1 being a forfeit game, then week 4 being a forfeit game, and then week 2 and 3 weren't too special for me, so I decided to just start at week 5. Another reason is that we actually play a very fun opponent of mine. We play Visch, aka Jalmer, which is a real life friend of mine, very good friend of mine. He is actually the champion of season 2, and I definitely consider him as my rival. So definitely excited to play him, always have good matches with him. Another thing I want to point out is that we did get our transactions. The original team contained Goventula and Pessimian. I decided to drop them by this week for Muchdale, which I actually brought, and Cryogonal, which isn't here as of right now. Now, looking at the team matchup, he also made some transactions, and he has this Thunderous Incarnate. Well, if there's one Pokemon that is definitely a signature Pokemon for him, it's definitely the Thunderous Incarnate. It is Z user as well, so big threat. Definitely got to worry about that. Slow gain, probably especially defensive pivot in order to take on my Mega Diancie better. That's what I anticipate. Tangrowth should definitely be physically defensive in order to take on my Garchomp or Metagross somewhat, otherwise he loses to them. The Rotom can be an interesting one. It can be especially defensive pivot for the Cryogonal somewhat. I can also see it as a wall breaker with specs, or potentially a Scarf for speed control. Pessimian, I definitely think will be there for the speed control as a Scarf or potentially expert belt user, but mainly it's here for dealing with the Cryogonal, I think, and also Licky, because Licky is a specially defensive beast, which could potentially 1v1 his special attackers, and he needs to break that, so that's probably why Pessimian is here. And Heatran is just a Heatran. Why wouldn't you bring Heatran? It's a super good Pokemon. It's probably has the Shuka Berry in order to deal with Garchomp or Mega Diancie better. But yeah, that's his team. As you can see, he has a Rotom Frost as his potential defogger, and I have none of defogger at all. I do have the Magic Bounce on Diancie, but yeah, as you can see with the lead matchup, we both decide to get our rocks up early on, or at least that is our plan. Muchdale definitely 1v1s this Heatran. Getting rocks up is definitely worth it for me. I also value damage on this Heatran because it's one of the few things that actually is stopping my Mega Diancie and Metagross for a good bit. So what I decided to do is turn 1 is Earthquake him. He actually chose to stay in, which was surprising. And you see, he was confident in staying in because he had the focus, so it doesn't matter if I got a crit or whatever, he would guarantee live. He probably valued getting damage on Muchdale in order to sweep me potentially in the late game with his Thunderous. He Magma Stormed me, so obviously I am trapped in. I can't swap out. Had he swapped out though in his Tangrowth, I would be fine with that and get up my rocks the next turn, because even though Tangrowth can damage Muchdale for a good amount, I think getting rocks up on his side is very viable because it chips his regen core, it weakens Heatran each time, and it also puts Thunderous guaranteed in range from Scarf Garchomp right away, so that's very nice on my end. He did trap me, so I have no other play than getting my rocks up anyway. A fun fact, he can probably miss with his Magma Storm, and the Yachi Berry actually came in clutch. We had the Yachi Berry in order to deal with Thunderous better, but he has the Hidden Power Ice on his Heatran, and looking more into it, it's probably an anti-lead for either a lead Diancie for rocks, lead Metagross, so he can deal with that with his Fire coverage, or Garchomp with HP Ice, and he can right away potentially catch me off guard and kill the guard jump. I think that was his thought process with this lead. But yeah, Flash Cannon couldn't kill Matsudail from the range it was at. Magma Storm could potentially miss, so I definitely respect the HP Ice play. But yeah, we do pack the HP Ice and the Yachi Berry, and we tank the HP Ice. We can get our rocks up, and looking at his team, this is his only rocker, so it's very likely for him to set rocks up, or he will play with the hazards and I get a free kill here. That's basically what happens. He sets up his rocks and I kill his Heatran. So we're up 6-5. He brings in his Tangrowth. I don't think it's the right time to sack Mudsdale just yet. I can basically preserve that still for potentially Thundurus, see what kind of moves he has, review a little bit more of his set, or I can still use it as Death Fodder later on. What I do go out into is my Shading, because it's my dedicated regen core check on his side, and he just Giga Drains, doesn't really do anything. And we are offensive Shaman. We are a bit bulky, so we can definitely sponge some hits, but we definitely have the Life Orb with the Seed Flare, and that does a ton of damage to his entire team. Tangrowth is his only resist, but look at this damage. He's going to scout for it, so that's good on his part, and he sees Seed Flare, and he's going, okay, I can probably take that, I'll knock you off. But Seed Flare does so much damage, it basically does health damage to him. You can see he knocked off. He knocks off my Life Orb, so he sees I am confirmed an offensive Shaman. But yeah, what I can see from this damage, he is definitely confirmed a physically defensive Tangrowth in order to deal with the Guard Jump Metagross, which is good information for Mega Diancie. It's not an Assault Vest set, I can definitely take it on better. But yeah, the next turn, I think I have no drawback into damaging him, but he scouts for any other coverage move. Or wants to heal himself a bit more with the leftovers, and I decide this is a free synthesis for myself. Shaman can definitely get back in later if I preserve its health a bit better and just dig on his team, because he has no actual Seed Flare switch-ins. So this turn, I'm just going to damage the Tangrowth again, because once Tangrowth is gone, Scarf Guard Jump just wins, basically on its own. His Tangrowth is very weak, he gets a Spadef drop, and he actually decides to swap into the Rotom. Keep in mind the rocks are still up at this point, so I decide to fire off another Seed Flare, because it basically claimed to kill. If I hit, it does so much damage, and he has investment, so it's not a fully offensive Rotom set. He definitely has investment, and he has the berry, the super berry, to get himself at a nice healthy amount, so which is a good play on his part. It sucks that the HP Ice before weakened my Shaman for a good bit, so I need to synthesis up in order to take on other threats. I definitely do think he won't click the Ice move right now, because Metagross is such a free play, or even the Guard Jump. So I definitely anticipate a Volt Switch or a Will-O-Wisp this turn, so I get a free recovery off. And what he actually decides to do is defog, so he gets rid of the hazards at all. So we both have no hazards this game, because I don't pack the hazards on Metagross, Guard Jump, or my Mega Diancie, but he doesn't know that. So he definitely wants to preserve his Rotom in order to get rid of the rocks later on, I think. Turns out I make a pretty stupid play, but I definitely anticipated the Volt Switch again, so I wanted to just damage him. I actually get a critical hit. It was a big turning point in this game. You see in the text, I say sorry to him. It definitely mattered for him, because he said he went for the Blizzard, potentially take out my Shaman, which probably would have taken out my Shaman, because it's a super effective move. Well, it would also have connected, because my evasion had dropped. So overall, I think it was a misplay on my part, but I got rewarded for it. But yeah, we take those. We definitely take those. And he is forced to bring in his Tangrowth again, because, yeah, let's be honest, he can't do anything to me. So I can just continue to spam Seed Flare. He's going to regen up, and I anticipate a swap in. Look, it was no drawback for me to Seed Flare, but I also didn't want to burn another Seed Flare, because I have actually quite burned a lot of Seed Flares. I have only 8 PP, I wanted to just toxic melee switch, and now his Slowking is toxic, which makes it a lot easier for me to break through him with either Scarf Guard Jump or my Mega Diancie. Well, right here it's again a very free Seed Flare. It doesn't matter if he has a Rindo Berry and damages me back, he can't kill me from full, and Seed Flare will do a ton of damage to him, so he will definitely swap back into the Tangrowth. Doesn't really matter to me because look at the damage it does, and yeah, he's basically trying to burn my TP and regen swap for the entire time. So I anticipate this, and I go in my wall breaking Pangoro, because Pangoro is basically bulky enough to take on any hit he can throw at me, and I can do massive damage to him. And as you can see, definitely make that double to Slowking. So now I have a free knockoff. I can get rid of an item. I can get rid of either a Colbur Berry and take a lot of damage from Slowking, but he definitely takes a lot of damage himself, making Diancie pretty much set to go to sweep. All I need is a Rock Polish on it, and when I Rock Polish in regular form, I definitely am confident I can live at least one hit from it, so that's a good situation for me. But he decides to make the smarter play, and yeah, he goes in his physically defensive Tangrowth. I do knock off his leftover, so his residual recovery is gone now, so that's nice. What the turn next, I could have Ice Punch, but I actually clicked Gong Shot because it would potentially KO the Tangrowth if he stayed in. But as you can see, he doesn't stay in. He goes in his Passimian, and yeah, as I could tell from before, it's an offensive Passimian. Passimian is naturally faster than Pangoro, so I can't find out if it is a Scarfer or a Choice Bandit or Expert Bell, whatever set it is. I decide this is the moment I sack my Mudsdale, because Pangoro can still do work versus his Regen Core, and Mudsdale is pretty much useless. I don't anticipate him substituting, and if he does substitute, I can definitely 1v1 him with Metagross. I will be more than willing to sacrifice health on that. So I sack my Mudsdale here, and that basically doesn't confirm anything for me, but I can go into my Garchomp, and Garchomp, even if he is Choice Scarfed, Garchomp won't take damage at all. I wanted to take as minimum damage as possible. The thing is though, I don't crack Dragon Claw this week. I have don't exactly remember my entire moveset, but I think I have Outrage, Earthquake, Dragon Rush actually, because I thought it was a cool move, and I think it was Iron Head, but I'm not really sure. I potentially will review it right here. Yeah, Iron Head. I had the Iron Head in order to deal with the Bumpy a bit better, if you have potentially brought that. But yeah, as you can see, this Tangrowth absolutely walls Garchomp at this point. It doesn't do any damage at all. But on the bright side, it doesn't really matter because he can't do anything back to Shaman, and Shaman just started getting damage in. I decide to Earth Power instead of Seed Flare, because I still want to save some Seed Flare PP to either damage the Thundurus, which I otherwise can't hit at all, or just hit Slowking for neutral damage if he wants to keep pivoting. And yeah, I mean, I basically lose nothing from it because he can't damage me at all. Look how much damage he does, only 30 HP points, and yeah, it doesn't do that much. I do get a special defensive drop, but it doesn't matter because Seed Flare always kills anyway, and he swaps back into his Tangrowth. I put in my wall breaking Metagross here. I don't think he has anything for Metagross as of this point, and I can basically fire off a free attack, which will do big damage. If he wants to go into Slowking, I can potentially catch him off guard and remove the Slowking, and otherwise I could just get big damage off on the Tangrowth. So I just start Meteor Mashing him. I am Life Orbed, he receives that, and he has the knockoff for me, which is... I can definitely live another knockoff, and as of right now he hasn't revealed Synthesis. He can potentially reveal it, but yeah, I'll just continue to Meteor Mash. I lose nothing by it. He protects, so he definitely has no other form of recovery, or otherwise he probably would have went for it. I anticipated a swap out from him, because if he had anything to kill me like Earthquake or knockoff, he would have gone for it there. He protected, so I was like, okay, I can just Earthquake, potentially do a bit more damage to Slowking. Now here, He does have to protect on the Tangrowth. I just making a good guess, he doesn't have to protect Slowking, or at least he hasn't revealed it yet. And I decide to click Explosion here. Why? Because if I get rid of the Slowking, Mega Diancie just wins on its own. I can set up on the Passimian or the Tangrowth actually. Another thing is if he decides to swap back into Tangrowth, I get an Explosion off and potentially kill the Tangrowth, or make sure it is in range of Garchomp, and Garchomp can just clean sweep him from there. So I think it is the good play from him to stay in, and yes, I do catch him off guard with the Explosion. So Slowking is out of here, and that brings me back to a very safe situation. I can go in my Shaman because it does deal with either Thundurus or the Tangrowth if he goes into it. If for some reason this Thundurus is Choice Scarfed and it does pick off my Garchomp, I still think it's better to no. The reason I didn't went into Garchomp because it doesn't make any sense, otherwise I can just win. Because Thundurus isn't in range of Outrage just yet, because the rocks are gone. So I want to chip it with Shaman. So he goes into Passimian and I decide to risk it because if he is Choice Scarf, the most, he will probably go for the U-turn because he isn't able to kill me, most likely. And if he is able to kill me, he has to click Close Combat. When he clicks Close Combat, I can set up with Diancie and just win from there. So I decided to risk it. And his Passimian is gone. He brings in the Thundurus, and it is probably his sweeping set. If he has agility, could potentially be an issue, but if he has agility, he needs Thunderbolt coverage. He needs the HP Ice in order to deal with either Mudsdale and Garchomp. And I am fully anticipating him to have the Flash Cannon for Mega Diancie. But I'm not quite sure, so I don't think he has the room for agility or Nasty Plot. It's either or. And he shows Nasty Plot here, and I just get free damage off him, and that means he is in range of the Scarf Garchomp as of right now. So I decide to save my Shaman because it still can potentially beat the Thundurus, and it definitely beats the Tangrowth for sure. So I decide to sack off my Galactic Bouncer, because it doesn't beat it drops to a hit of the Thundurus, and it is not going to take on the Tangrowth that much better than Shaman is. So I decide to sack this, go into Garchomp, and now Garchomp can freely brick Outrage because it basically will 2-hit KO the Tangrowth and the Thundurus. You see it does 38 damage, he still has 38. It is potentially a roll, but it doesn't really matter because HP Ice won't kill me from full, and as you can see, I can do so much damage. I don't get the roll actually, get confused, and he knocks off and he gets Rough Skin damage. And because Rough Skin damage kills him, he is not able to knock off my Choice Scarf, so I still keep my Choice Scarf. And my Choice Scarf get knocked off though, I would potentially be in trouble, but not really, because I think I could go into Mega Diancie and potentially live. It really depends on what his set was on with the Thundurus. It could have been scary still, but yeah, I just clean up the game with the Thundurus, and yeah, we don't have to deal with that scenario at all. So GG to Jalmer, definitely enjoyed this game. It is not the same as the J-Land finals we definitely wanted in Season 2, but potentially this season still, if you turn up, which you probably will, we will meet again in playoffs, because we're both fighting to get a playoff spot for sure. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed, and until next video.